Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday and welcome to the Pagan Housewife. We are going to be talking about Father's Day and how to make it pagan because Father's Day is Sunday. It came up quick, didn't it? And it does seem that Father's Day doesn't quite receive the same fanfare as what Mother's Day gets. And I can think of several reasons why that might be, and they probably won't come as any surprise to you. Partly it's because we have a very anti man culture that has developed and that culture outright denies the necessity of fathers in their children's lives. Partly, maybe it's because men express and receive emotion differently than women do. And so the bond between child and father isn't always as effusive. And so when it comes around to Father's Day, that lack of, you know, overt display is might be transferring over. And then another partly is because, and let's face it and be honest, men don't tend to be as needy as women, and they don't make as much of a fuss to get attention or to express resentment for not getting the attention they think is their due. Now this isn't to say that men don't feel the effects of neglect or disrespect, only that they're much slower to raise the issue than women are. Still with me? Okay. Father's Day was a late arrival to the American calendar as a federal holiday. Fathers had to wait until 1972 to get their official recognition, which is 58 years after Mother's Day was nationally established. Now, the seeds for Father's Day were planted July 5th, 1908, at a West Virginia church that hosted a sermon that was openly focused on fathers. It was memorializing the memory of 362 men who died in a coal mine disaster in a place called Monoga. But the occasion, it was a one off and it did not become an annual observance. However, Father's Day was in the minds of other people and they were advocating for it, even though it was difficult for them to gain traction. But June 19th, 1910, a lady by the name of Sonora Smart Dodd was successful in convincing the authorities in Washington state to create a statewide Father's Day. She was one of 6 children raised by a widower, and she wanted to see that fathers were given the same honor that mothers already enjoyed. And that began the spread. And there were a few presidents who would encourage the states to create and observe a statewide Father's Day, even though they weren't establishing a federal holiday at that time. But eventually, Father's Day was fixed on the third Sunday of June every single year. But that has not been without controversy. And apparently at the beginning of this, some men just kind of resented the whole idea. They even found it emasculating. They thought it was unduly sentimental and it was an excuse for businesses to turn honoring fathers into some kind of commercial gimmick. And they really resented that because a lot of the money for the gifts that were being given to the father, it came out of the pocket of the father himself. Yes, let's have a holiday celebrating my role as father. Here's my money for you to get me. Oh, yay. Look what my money got. I was kind of wanting something else instead of another tie, but whatever. Then during the 1920s and 30s, there was a movement that wanted to do away with individual Mother's Day and Father's Day altogether. They just wanted to combine it into a Parents' Day to celebrate both as a unit. And this was also done in hopes that it would help decommercialize the occasion. And honestly, the argument for just a Parents' Day, it does strike me as a bit wishy-washy and one of those arguments like, I think it's really mean to neglect one or the other. I think they have to have a joint day because they should be celebrated together, and if they aren't, that's going to hurt feelings, namely mine. I mean, that's how their argument for it really came across to me. So, ick. And another interesting thing about this evolution is that it was during the Great Depression where you would think everything would become more uncommercialized and we'd really get to the spirit of what these occasions are supposed to mean as opposed to, what money we can part with. No, 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 no. The opposite happened during the Great Depression. It actually became more commercialized and advertisers actually tried to turn it into a second Christmas for dear old dad. I mean, can you imagine? And then when World War II got underway, Father's Day was advocated for much more honorably as being an additional way of honoring the troops. Many of those troops were fathers, and of course, they were separated from their families during that terrible war. And so, having a day, even if it wasn't an official national holiday at that time, to give them that extra bit of recognition, I mean, I'm sure it was very good for morale. And then 1972 rolled around, and Richard Nixon signed a proclamation that solidified Father's Day as a national institution. And if any of the viewers here are fathers, I'm actually very curious about reaction to this history, how it developed, how everything came about, and how you feel about the holiday in general today, as well as what would you like it to really be? What do you want it to focus on? Let me know. Let's have a conversation. It seems very strange that we've really gotten out of the habit about asking men's opinions and actually wanting a genuine response from them. So, I want to do my part to try to break through that particular cycle. Now, because we live in a time when bashing men is a pretty much a cultural norm, I think that Father's Day is a really good opportunity, just in general, regardless of your faith, to push back against the trend of denigrating men. Fathers are absolutely essential to a family, and they serve a complementary role to that of a mother's, where a mother is overtly nurturing and she's constantly working with and teaching the children about what should be done and how things should be. The father is much more of the boundary setter, but he's also the confidence builder. He's going to let the children know how far they can go and no further at a particular stage, but they're also going to say, explore, embrace, take the next step in your development. Let that happen. You can do it. And that's an important message for the children to receive, as much as they need to have that sense of safety and security that the mother is much more prone to providing. And it's that ebb and flow of receptive and projective energy and action. The mother is drawing the children in and attending to the more emotional side of things, and the father is drawing the children out and encouraging them to be more action taking. And it's a beautiful balance. Nature always gets it right. And when both parents follow their natural instincts and they function together as a team with this understanding in mind, then lo and behold, the result is usually reasonably well adjusted children who grow up into productive adults. Gosh. Funny how that works. It's a shame that in our modern age that so many people have done so much to try to reverse that process or to break it all together. I mean, it's absolutely tragic. And I think we're all aware of the social and political pressures that really drag men down. But what really amazes me is that there aren't yet more people who are rejecting that nonsense outright. I think we're beginning to see the beginning of the pendulum swing, but it's still, doesn't it seem like it should be more widespread? Because when we take, the ideological nonsense out of the equation, just the mere fact that men's are the one who instigate the creation of life, that should warrant respect. Now, women certainly gestate that life, but without men, we would have nothing in our wombs and we would never bring a new life into being. That's just not something that we can do on our own. So we should honor the role that men play in that act of creation, and we should certainly appreciate the job they do as fathers. They are providing guidance for the children that and this is a kind of guidance that the children can't get from their mother, because fathers and mothers are not interchangeable. Hate me if you want me to for saying that, but there is no ideology in the world that can override and alter that fundamental reality of existence. Now, it's quite easy to put a pagan spin onto Father's Day. Unlike our modern society, pagan societies had no difficulty giving men their due, nor for honoring the fatherly duties that were discharged by the gods in various ways. Fatherhood was recognized, respected. And then when we think of more of a divine fatherhood and gods like Thor, clearly a worthy example was being set. Many pagan gods are considered to be the progenitors of both a family of deities and a tribe of human people. Odin even holds the title of Allfather, and for good reason. And in addition to giving the father of your family gifts and making him his favorite foods and generally making a fuss on him, a pagan family can also hold a small ritual showing appreciation for him and for celebrating the gods who've guided his spiritual journey, because they have played a role in, how he perceives the world, how he conducts himself as a man, which also includes what kind of father he has been. Now, if your father is deceased, or if your father isn't pagan or otherwise absent, or just wouldn't be comfortable with this sort of thing, I can see two pretty good options ahead of you. Certainly, you could hold a ritual honoring his memory if your father is deceased, or you could have a ritual honoring your father's impact on your life and sharing this with the gods, even if your father wouldn't want you to share it with him, because the gods are also fathers, and taking the opportunity to express thankfulness for divine guidance that you've received in your journey, and um, how they're fulfilling a role and they're connecting with you in a way that you can't connect with your earthly father. Now, if anyone watching is a pagan father, perhaps this Father's Day you could make offerings to the gods who've given you inspiration and insight about how you can be a good father, how you can be a good leader, how you can really be that source of strength for your family unit. And those who lack father figures altogether, they can certainly take the day to venerate and give offerings to gods they see as having qualities that they believe are beneficial for fathers, and to ask for their blessings and guidance. And of course, let's actually consult the fathers in our lives what they would want on this day. Make the day about them, not about what we think they should want or what we think they should need, but what they say they actually want and need. Let's do them the courtesy of believing them when they express an opinion. So many men just are not listened to. So let's use the day, break that cycle, and genuinely take their preferences into consideration, and thus truly honor them on this Father's Day. So those are my thoughts on the subject. Share your own with me in the comments section below, or come see us at Blackbird's Brew on Gilded. There's a link in the description box to join us. Click on it, take you right to us. We'd be very happy to have you, and I look forward to any conversations we have there. But that'll do it for now, and I will see you next time. Bye.